this is lab 4.2, where we're going to introduce the idea of a list. So a list is just a way for us to store multiple pieces of data. And in this lab, we're going to create a list for every part of speech. So nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, articles, and prepositions. We're going to store each of these inside of a variable. So each list will be saved inside a variable that matches the name of that part of the speech. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's open up a snap window here. And I'm just going to keep the lists right here on the left side of the screen. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to need to make these lists. So we'll grab the list, and let's just say we're going to make a list of nouns. And I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nouns. You can have more nouns in your list. You can add all sorts of nouns to your list, but I'm just going to use the default ones here for my example. So we're going to give myself 5 spaces here, and we're just going to put these nouns inside the list. Giraffe, monkey, boy, girl, elephant. I can't see that because there you go. Oops, I did not type that well at all. Girl and elephant. There we go. So there's our list. And this list is great, but what we want to do is we want to store it inside a variable called noun so we can use it and add to it later. So I'm going to go ahead and make a variable and call it noun. And what we're going to do is we're just going to set noun to this list here. So now noun contains all the items in my list. Noun is the variable, and the list is stored inside that variable. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for verbs, adjectives, adverbs, articles, and prepositions, and then we'll move on to part 2. All right, so you can see now that I have my variables for noun, verb, adjective, adverb, article, and preposition, and I can set all those variables to these lists that I've just copied from the default list. Again, in your program, you could add to these lists to make your program a little more interesting. So if I click, I can see noun contains that list, verb, adjective, adverb, article, preposition, all contain lists with various words inside those lists. So now we're going to get to the second part, reporting phrases. So now we're going to start to use the items that are stored in these lists, or the list stored in these variables, to start to construct some random phrases. And so the first one we're going to do is we're going to create a custom reporter block called noun phrase that reports a noun phrase where each word is chosen randomly from the list of words that you created. A noun phrase consists of an article, an adjective, and a noun in that order. So basically, we're going to grab words from these lists to create a random sentence. And the first part is that this is going to be a custom reporter block. So this is going to be a function that we make. So we're going to go ahead and click make a block, and we're going to switch it over to reporter, and we're going to call it noun phrase. So we're basically building a program that can create a noun phrase. And so what is this program, or what is this reporter going to report out? It's going to report out a random phrase. So now we need to go ahead and build that. So each word is randomly chosen, and it's going to consist of an article, an adjective, and a noun in that order. So how do we pull out random items from a list? Well, there's a couple of ways. If we look down at the list functions here, one that sticks out to me right away is item number of list. So we could generate a random number and then input that and tell it to grab that item out of the list. But there's actually an easier way to do it. If we go ahead and click this drop down, you can see here item random of list. So we can actually pull out random items from a list just using this reporter that's already built in. So we can literally tell it, okay, I need a random item out of this list. And what is this list going to be? Well, if we want to build a noun phrase, the first thing we'll need an article. So first thing we want is a random item from the list called article. And then we're going to need a random adjective and a random noun. So we're going to need to get a random adjective, so random item from the list adjective, and we're going to do the same thing, duplicate, and let's grab a random noun. And so if we go ahead and click these, we'll get the young monkey, right? So we can build a random sentence this way. And the last thing we need to do is if we just want to put all these things together, we just need to join them together. So we'll go ahead and grab a join block. Here we are. And so we're going to report out these three things together. Our first random article, our second random adjective, and then we'll finish off our noun phrase by random noun. Right? So random article, random noun. Let's go ahead and click OK. I believe I just stored this in there. So now if we click noun phrase, we get a small monkey. Perfect. One thing you might notice is I'm missing some spaces here. So I might want to go back in, we can edit, and then we can add some spaces into my join box. Replace these well. All right. A loud monkey. There we go. And a loud monkey, a small girl, an old giraffe, small boy, the loud giraffe. We can keep going. It's just building a random noun phrase from those three different things there. All right, so now we're just going to continue that pattern, continue that process to build out a couple more different custom reporters. And I'll show you how to build the prepositional phrase, and then you can go ahead and build the verb phrase and the sentence. So we'll start off with a prepositional phrase. A prepositional phrase is just made of a preposition and a noun phrase. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make a block here. And this one is, again, going to be a reporter. It's called the verb phrase. Oh, sorry, prepositional phrase. Prepositional phrase. Again, reporter. And this is made of a preposition. So first thing we need is a random preposition. Let's go ahead and grab a random item from the list of prepositions. And we are going to need a noun phrase. And we already have a function that we've built that generates a random noun phrase. So this will generate a random preposition, and this function already generates a random noun phrase. So we can put the two together to make a prepositional phrase. So again, we just need a join block. And if I'm smart this time, I'll build the spaces in ahead of time. So we'll do this, get a random preposition, put a space, put our noun phrase there. Okay, and let's give it a try. So let's go ahead and grab our prepositional phrase now. And near a silly boy, under the small giraffe, around the silly monkey. So we're generating, again, random from our list. Perfect. So I'll let you go ahead and build the verb phrase and the sentence on your own. All right, so now I have my noun phrase, prepositional phrase, verb phrase, and finally copying it all off my sentence, which builds off all these previous things. So now I can click this reporter function that I built and get a random sentence. Let's see what I get. A big giraffe happily sleeps beside the old elephant. So again, I'm just using the items in my list and pulling random ones out using that random function in the item random of list, building a random sentence. Small giraffe happily sleeps under the old boy. So now we have just a couple more things to finish up on this lab. The first one is very simple. Write a code so that when you press the space bar, a random sentence is generated and a sprite says the resulting sentence. So I already have a reporter that builds a random sentence. I just need to now code it so my sprite will say it when I hit the space bar. So easy enough. When the space key is pressed, I just want the sprite to say something. So he's going to say a random sentence here. Let me actually just duplicate that so I can keep it on the screen. So now when I press space, you can't see it because my finger is really tiny. Here we go. Let's do this right. Boop. The loud elephant excitedly sleeps beside the silly elephant, angrily sleeps near the silly boy. Okay, I need to do that a little bit longer, but yeah, you get the idea. So now I can go ahead and finish this up with the last part here, which will be a bunch of scripts that allow us to add and remove things from the list that we've already built. And these are really easy to do if we just go back to variables palette and back to those list operations. You're going to see that there's plenty of things that allow us to add and take away things from lists. Easiest being add thing to list, delete a certain thing from the list, etc., etc., etc. So it's going to ask us to write a script so that when the N key is pressed, the user is prompted for a new noun, and that noun is added to the list of nouns. And after that, the new noun entered by the user should be able to appear in sentences. So we have already built, ahead of time, we've already built these variables, which contain the lists within them using all these sets. So now we just need to build something that can add to these lists. So the easiest way to do that, let's grab a control block. So we want it when the N key is pressed. So when the N key is pressed, we want to prompt the user for a new noun, and that noun be added to the list of nouns. So remember, if we want to prompt the user for something, that's the ask and wait block. So we're going to ask the user to give us a new noun. Let's just tell the user, give me a noun to add to the list. We're going to ask and wait. And remember that when we ask a question, that answer is stored in this little variable called answer, and we can use that to add to the list here. So now if we just want to add something to the list, we could just tell it add thing to the list. So we're going to add their answer, their new noun. Whoops. Give me a noun to add to the list. We'll add their answer to the list of nouns. Again, that list is stored in this variable noun. So because this variable is the list, we can just use that variable right there. Add the answer to noun, which is already the list of nouns. So if we take a look at noun right now, we'll see that it has 5 items: giraffe, monkey, boy, girl, elephant. But if we go ahead and press the N key here, it's going to say, give me a noun to add to the list. Let me think of a noun. Person, place, or thing. Ooh, let's just add Massey to the list. And now we can see that we added Massey to noun. And if we look at noun now, which we can, it's already up on the screen, we now see that it has a 6th item, Massey. And so now Massey will eventually make its way into one of our random sentences. We just had one there, the big Massey, big boy and girl, the young Massey, et cetera, et cetera. So we can go ahead and do that to add to our verb, adjective, adverb, articles, preposition lists. And we're going to do the same thing to remove. So I'll let you puzzle through that. It shouldn't be too hard. And good luck on the rest of Lab 4.2.